Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls coming to you from the West Coast. Today I wanted to share a fun card that I made using a bunch of different collections kind of all put together. So it's a sort of a trifold. So there are 3 beer bottles you open, and then there's a beer mug and you open, and happy birthday. It's actually relatively easy to make. Let me show you how it's made. I made the beer bottles first, and I used the Bottles Up collection from Crafter's Companion, and I cut 6 of the bottles out of the brown Centura Pearl, and then 3 of the little caps out of some silver matte foil, and I glued them back to back so that they're, because this is single-sided cardstock, so it was white on the back, and I didn't like the white, so I glued them back to back, and it makes it a little sturdier. And then I put the cap on the top, and then this is the little label that's going to go on the top, and I just cut it out of white cardstock, and I took my gold metallic pen and went around the edge, and I'm going to put that on there, but I'm going to stamp on them first, so that's why I haven't put it on. And so I cut this 6 times, glued them back to back, so that gives me my 3 bottles. I did my happy birthday sentiment. This is actually from I think it's from Rose Gold collection, and I cut it twice, once in gold foil cardstock and once in the brown Centura Pearl, and glued just a little bit of a drop shadow. So I've got that all together, ready to go. And then I got to make my card base and my beer stein. So my beer mug is from the template library, the Indigo, specifically template library, and it's template number 7 beer mug card. And because I want it to be a fold, I actually traced it on, upside down, or I traced it on using this one. Let me turn it around so I can see. So I traced it. You see, this is supposed to go on a fold line, so you get a shaped card. I only want half of that, but I'm going to create a little tab. So I traced this, and I used my Threader's heat erasable pen, which I love these for the template, works great. And if you line up one side of it with the top, then that's one less line you have to cut. So traced that outline, and then I traced the foam on there. I traced the 3 little lines here, and then I traced this inside square twice because I want to put one on the front and one on the back, because that kind of gives you the look of the beer in the mug. And let me quickly cut that out. They're relatively easy or fast to cut out, and they don't have to be perfect. The easiest thing is to move the cardstock and not the scissors. So as you go around a corner, don't rotate your scissors, just keep cutting slow and rotate the cardstock. Now, when I get to this gap in the handle, because I want to create a little glue tab, I'm just going to kind of go over a little bit, go up, and then go back over to my handle. And that just, I'll score along that line, and that just gives me a little glue tab to make my trifold. So don't be afraid to do something different than was intended with the template. So there's the beer mug. I'll cut that inside out part out with my craft knife. Now this is just a straight line across here, so you could actually use your paper trimmer if you want, but I've got my scissors, so I'll go ahead and use my scissors. Okay. Get this cleaned up. All right, now I am going to cut that center out, and I just use my craft knife. Okay, now I've got all these red lines on there, and I don't want that because I didn't cut all the lines off. So this is where that heat erasable pen is truly magic. So I'm going to turn on my heat gun. If you don't have these heat erasable pens from Threaders for template library, go get one. They are truly amazing. Okay, now we're going to put some ink on these to make them look realistic. But first, I'm going to go ahead and score my little glue tab. So just kind of line up the edges like that. And we're going to score right down that edge. So it's like that. And then that's going to glue on to my card base to make the TriFold. Now, the card base itself, this is just a flat sheet of paper that is 7 inches wide by 6 inches high. And then I've got another piece of paper that is 8.5 by 2.5 inches high. And I scored it. So this is going to go on there. So this is 7. And then I scored a little 1/8 of an inch there. So it's scored at, let's see, 1.5, or it's scored at 1 3/8, which is that first line, and then 1.5, so 4/8, that line. That leaves me 7, a little 1/8 of an inch there, and then a 1 inch glue, the 1 1/8 or 3/8 inch glue tab. And so that's going to glue onto the back of that card base. Actually, I'm going to glue it on the front because I'm going to put a piece of paper in there and then it'll cover it up. So we're going to glue that on first. So let me take my glasses out. Can't see anything. So we're going to put some glue on this tab. And then we're going to line this up, 1 at the bottom and 2, so it's right up against not the 1.5 inch score line, but the 1 3/8 inch score line. And before that glue sets, we want to make sure that it's square across the bottom. Okay, well, that looks good. So let's push that down. And then I'm going to put a matte layer on the front, so that'll cover that up. But that gives you a little 1/8 of an inch because it's kind of a thick card. Now this one's going to go on the other side the same way. This one I did not do the 1/8 of an inch because it's going to go flat. But it's going to go on here. But before I do that, I want to do, no, I can go ahead and do that. So we're going to put glue on this tab here, and I'm going to put that the same way. I'm going to put it on this side, but I want it to line up across the bottom and down that side. So that I think looks pretty good. Yeah. And then press that down. And now we're going to decorate all these pieces. And then that's your card base, essentially, and then it's just decoration. So let's start with our beer mug. So these are sort of the inside of the glass. And I used honey pot, the water reactive honey pot. And I don't want it solid. I just want it kind of look like cloudy because it's, you know, you're looking through a glass, and hopefully the glass is sort of iced and all of that. So it's not going to be a solid. And I'm going to do 2 because I want to put 1 on each side because I want it to look nice from both sides. Because otherwise, when you open it up, it's just white on the inside, and then it looks kind of, I don't know, I didn't like the looks of it. So that's one of the reasons I did the bottles double-sided, and I wanted to do the beer mug double-sided. Okay, so there's my beer in the inside of my glass. And then these are like, go on here to make it look like the glass has, like, I don't know, like indents in them. And I did those in straw bale just so that it would be a contrast. But I'm going to do essentially the same thing, and I just want to give them a little bit of color. Not a lot. I just don't want them to be white, but they need to be light enough that they'll give you a contrast against the honey pot. So see, this way it gives you a little bit of a contrast, but not too much. And then on the foam, it's kind of the same thing. So I use the what is that? Straw bale. And I just kind of did a little bit around the edge. And then just kind of in a couple spots on the inside. And that's good. Actually, I'm going to do both sides of that, because it will show on the other side, because I did not cut 2 of them. Okay. And then I have 3 more of those that I did earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and glue those on. Let me get the ink off my mat. And we just glue those on flat. Okay, let's decorate our beer mug. So this goes on here. Just like that. I'll do one on the inside. Try to get it in about the same spot. Okay. Then we're going to put our foam on the top. And I put it so that kind of coming down the side so that it fits within that card base. You can do it however you want. Do it like that. Kind of looks like it's coming over the side of the glass. Like that. That's that part. Then this part, got to do some stamping. So on here, you can see I lined that with just a piece of brown cardstock and then a piece of craft card, and then I did some stamping. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And then on the inside piece, it's just a piece of cream colored card, and I stamped the beer bottle just in lots of different ways, and then inked around the edges just to make my own background card. So I'm going to go ahead and do that stamping. Oh, and then these labels for each beer. Now this stamp and some of these stamps, I guess the Cheers to You and the Every Hour is Happy Hour come from the Bottles Up shaped set that came with the bottles. And then the Happy Beer Day, Wishing You Barrels of Fun, and then the beer bottles came from Cheers to You. So let's get my stamping platform out here. start with every hour is happy hour. Then I'm going to do this piece. And we used Cheers to You. Oops, put it right side up. And then from the Cheers to You collection, Wishing You Barrels of Fun and Happy Beer Day. I mean, you could use any stamps you want. You could even use the beer bottle stamps like the background if you wanted to. But I kind of liked these for something different. Again, I'm going to use a seal brown. Next, I'm going to do my beer bottle. So that's the card for the front. So let's go ahead and layer that up. And I'll put it on the front. But it covers most of the way. There. Okay, so there's the front of my card. Now let's make the inside. So because you don't want to ever stamp, you want to stamp off the edges. So let's start with, to put the paper kind of in the middle of your stamping platform. Pick that stamp up. Give it another coat. And you just want to kind of do these random. And random stamping is probably the hardest thing you can do because it's really hard to be random, but do the best you can. Because you're going to put your sentiment on there anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, I want to ink around the edges of that just to kind of soften it. And you could go get your Seal Brown Water Reactive, but I'm not really trying to blend it. So I just used my Quick Dry again and just kind of if you're careful, the Quick Dry works okay. And if you spin the paper around so that you're only inking in one spot, then you're not making too big of a mess on your mat. Sort of like cutting. Move the paper instead of your scissors. This one, move the paper instead of your ink. And that looks pretty good. Now let's assemble our card. So there's our original. So we're going to assemble our beer bottles first. We're going to put our labels on. So we've got our 3 beer bottles. And I want to put the labels kind of up towards the top because then when they're in the card, they'll still show. So about there. And you could put whatever you want on the labels. You could put, I don't know, something different, but because they're going to be side by side, I tried to make the labels fairly consistent in this location. put our background sheet on here, and that'll cover up all of the tabs and workings of the card and create a nice background for our happy birthday sentiment. Got my happy birthday sentiment. I'm just gonna glue that in. Okay, now we're gonna get our beer bottles in, and the way that I did it, I actually have these on foam pads, and I'm gonna do the same thing with these. Grab my foam pads. There. But the way that I did it is I kind of arranged them where I wanted them. And they're almost exactly the same height as the cards. So if you just kind of do that, and that looks pretty good. And then I left them there, opened them up, and put the foam pad on without moving them. Just hold them down. And then I always put a little bit of tacky glue on my foam pads. Okay, so before you close it, just make sure you got them in the right spot, that they didn't move. And that one's a little crooked. Looks pretty good. And close them and you pick them up, basically. And there you go. And that's your card. You're done. So you got your beer bottles on the front. You open it up. You got your beer mug with the foam on the top. You can open that up and you got your sentiment. And you could put, leave a little spot, like if you wanted to write a greeting there, you could maybe not put that stamp in so you had this space open. I'm just going to write on the back, which is why I did not put the tabs on the back. I covered them up with the matte layer because I wanted to write my greeting on the back. So anyway, hope you liked that. It was kind of a fun card to make. Thanks for watching.